Hello and welcome back to Everything Tumbler Tutorials. My name is Rebecca and I'm a Tumbler designer. And in this video, I'm going to show you how we're going to cascade the gold glitter from the top to the bottom, as well as the floral design, and how we're going to attach this handle. I do want to mention at the time of this particular filming, as well as the end filming, this tumbler had yet to be epoxied. Remember, everything shown in this tutorial will be listed and linked down in the description box for you guys below. So stay tuned and let's get started. I'm super excited about this tutorial. Diving right into this tutorial today, I am working with a 20-ounce stainless steel from AB Designs. I've already sanded and prepped, and now we're ready to spray paint using this purple gloss from Rust-Oleum. I'm going to allow this spray paint to completely dry before moving on to the next step. If you've happened to catch any of my previous tutorials, you'll know that I'm obsessed with using the spray paint glitter application method because it's super simple and hassle-free. However, since I've been using the Turbo Fast Set from Counterculture DIY, I'm really liking it. It takes literally an hour to cure where it's touchable and you can move on. So with that, that's what I decided to use for my glitter application today. So I always have a tendency to mix more than what I need, but that's okay because I'd rather have more than not enough. You just want to make sure you have a nice coverage over your tumbler before applying your glitter. This also doesn't need to be very thick. In fact, it's better off the thinner the better. Once I'm pretty sure I have a good coverage of the epoxy, I can then go ahead and hit it with the heat torch to pop any bubbles that I may or may not be able to see. Not only will the heat torch help pop those bubbles, but it will also relax the streak marks that we've done while applying the epoxy. For my glitter for this project, I'm using Treasure, which is a diamond cut from AB Designs Co. It's absolutely stunning and looks brilliant with this deep purple. I'm going to start glittering here at the rim with a nice healthy coat of glitter, because I really want that section nice and full. Then I'm going to tilt the tumbler about 90 degrees and cascade down. This is where we're going to start doing the blending. This way we don't have such a very harsh line right here at the top. So we really want to be able to blend that so it looks effortlessly going down the tumbler. Also, you want to remember that you don't really have that much working time using the Turbo Fast Set. So you want to be quick, but not too quick to make mistakes. And you can still see here where the harsh line is, so we need to keep going to really get that blended in nicely. Once we get all the glitter applied to the tumbler and everything's blended really nice, we're going to allow this to completely dry and spin on the turner for about an hour before moving on to the next step. Remember, because we're using the Turbo Fast Set, this tumbler does not need to be sealed, and you certainly would not want to take a heat torch to it at this point. Just set it on the turner and let it spin out for the next hour. So in the Cricut design space, I came across Creativity Takes Courage, but I wanted to change it to Is Courage because I think creativity is courage. So what I did was I just changed up the saying, and then I also just took the courage and creativity and I changed all of the font to Lackluster Demo, which I believe was a download from defont.com. And I thought for this tumbler, this saying was absolutely perfect. Once I got my saying applied to the tumbler, it was ready for another coat of epoxy. But this time I am going to be using the Artist Resin from Counterculture DIY. You're going to want to allow this to spin for about 6 to 8 hours. Again, the colder the temperatures, the longer it's going to take. Always make sure you use your heat torch to pop any bubbles you may or may not be able to see. Okay, so after having slept on this tumbler overnight, I decided that it needed something else. It just, though it's beautiful the way that it just was missing something. So I decided to pull out this vinyl, which is a clear cast vinyl from a 12 by 12 sheet from AB Designs Co. It looks absolutely stunning because I didn't want it to overtake the gold, but I definitely needed something. And I think this was a good call to add this to the top of the tumbler. So once I had it figured out as to where I wanted it to lay on the tumbler, I just trimmed off some of the backing so that I could go ahead and anchor this on to the tumbler. I did end up having to trim some around that top, which was not a problem. I just used my edge cutting tool to trim off that rim, just so that I didn't have ripples and bumps around the rim. So I just trimmed off and gave myself a fraction of an inch around the rim. I'm just trying to make sure that I don't end up with ginormous pockets, air pockets up underneath the vinyl. However, if you do, after having applied the vinyl to your tumbler, you can use your weeding pen or your X-Acto knife to pop them out. You really want to make sure that this is flat to the surface of the tumbler because you will be able to see those air pockets once you've applied your epoxy. Here I want to go ahead and use my X-Acto knife to trim off the excess that's overlapping. Once the vinyl was placed, it was time to move on to what I think is the fun part. I purchased these handles off of Amazon and I believe it came in a set of 5. I bought these a while ago and I just am so excited to finally be able to use it. So I'm going to attach the handle to the tumbler using Turbo Fast Set. I would have used the UV resin, but unfortunately, because my handle pieces that attach to the tumbler, they are not clear. So the UV resin would never have cured. That's why I've chosen the Turbo Fast Set, which was actually perfect because like within 10 minutes, it really starts to harden up and heat up quickly. So I just put a little dabble on both ends and then placed it where I had previously marked on the tumbler for the placement of the handle. And I did keep the handle just below the rim of the tumbler, if that makes sense, but you'll see. So once I get this in this section where I had previously marked, I'm just gonna hold it there for just a few minutes just to really anchor it in and make sure that it's not going to slip and slide. Once I got it in place, I left it right where it is, right where you see it on my tumbler holder, and I just allowed it to fully cure for an hour. I do want to mention, though, the Fast Set does start to heat up quickly. You still have time in order to get down at eye level to really make sure it's staying straight and that it's not slipping. So don't feel like you have to rush this process because you don't. Here I'm going to go in with a baby wipe and just get it off the handle and around the gold bottom rim where it's attached to the tumbler. Just a little bit where it might have like slid down, just so that I don't have to worry about that later. Once I get the cleanup done, I did have to go back in and adjust, but that's okay. It was really important for me to get that excess cleaned up. Like I said, once I had this all nice and straight and all of my excess epoxy was cleaned up, I just allowed this to simply sit here and fully cure before moving on to the final coat of epoxy. I would also recommend that you kind of babysit it because here you can see the slightest of movement and it starts to slide. So at this point, I'm going to readjust it and make sure it's right where it's supposed to be and kind of hold it there for a good few minutes just to really make sure that it's not going to slide around. Once I was content with it, I just left it alone. Once we're pretty sure that handle is nice and secure, it is now time to go in with a coat of epoxy. For this coat of epoxy, I am going to be using the Artist Resin from Counterculture DIY. And again, remember using the Artist Resin from Counterculture DIY, you're going to want this to fully spend for at least 6 to 8 hours. If you have colder climates and temperatures, if you come out and it's tacky, it's just going to need a little bit more time. You'll also notice I did not tape off my handle, I kind of got the guts to not, and shockingly, I did okay and I did not make a mess all over the handle. Tape off the handle if you feel like you need to, so that you don't have any cleanups later. If you do in fact need to tape off the handle, that's okay. Just make sure you set a timer for at least 25 to 30 minutes to come back and remove that tape. As always, make sure you use your heat torch to pop any bubbles you may or may not be able to see. And that's it for this tutorial. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it, and if so, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more tutorials coming soon. Just a reminder, everything shown in this tutorial will be listed and linked down in the description box for you guys below. Don't hesitate to drop me a comment and or a question down below. I'd really love to know what your thoughts are on me having added this handle to this tumbler. Let me know if you guys thought this was a great idea or if it was gimmicky. I'd really love to hear from you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, bye.